You're listening to Unspooled, the podcast where bad prints become learning experiences, eventually. Hosted by Corey from Muon3D, who somehow has owned more printers than most people have owned filament, and Steve from Layer by Layer, who may or may not be running a small filament warehouse from home. Each week we dive into printing, projects, people, and the occasional rant. So load your build plate, hit print, and let's get unspooled.
All right, we should be live. We are live for Unspooled episode 40, episode 40. How are you doing, Steve?
Chilling, man. Can you hear me? Am I 5x5?
I don't know the answer to that.
Hey.
Yes, I'm just gonna say
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm chilling. What about you?
A whole lot, but just been printing all kinds of stuff, but nothing really new. So you?
I got this cool little camera, dude, that lets me do microscopic photos.
Oh yeah.
It's freaking sweet, and I can use it as a webcam as a microscope. So that kind of satisfies two niches. I can't wait to start sharing that stuff, man. That's gonna be.
Yeah, I have an Andin Star, which is like it's got the screen with the microscope, and you can hook that up to an HDMI and capture the image. But I use it for SMD soldering on small stuff. But works good.
I can't wait. It's so much fun looking at like filament under the microscope, because like, dude, I looked at some burnt titanium and it doesn't look like it looks when you look at it with your naked eye. It's like a totally different like color under like a microscope. So that's
most things don't. Once you look at them through a microscope, everything looks different. Like,
it's crazy.
Like the quantum realm.
Yeah, dude.
like super like strong microphones. Wild.
Oh my goodness. I looked at my sofa, the leather on my recliner, and I'm like, it looked like a planet. Like, what is going on? Like, I didn't even want to put my arm back on it. It was so crazy. But outside of that,
look too close, you might find a water bear.
Yeah, I know, right? I did a stream with Wexter on was it Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
it was fun. Like, once again, Stream Together hates Max, so I couldn't get that to work right. But still had fun, just chatting it up with Wexter. I was trying to refrain from turning it into like an interview, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. Learned some stuff. Outside of that, doing some designs, just trying to stay busy on the design front, and get ready for Murph. So, what about you? What'd you work on?
I've been printing. So I some of you guys know behind the scenes, but I recently got back into Magic: The Gathering, the card game, which I haven't played since I was like 16. So just like anything else, though, like when you get into a hobby, whatever it is, like a non 3D printing hobby, 3D printing invades it. So like I'm printing like. So this is you put your phone on here and you throw cards in and it counts them. It like takes the image and puts them in what's called, I use Mana Box. It's to keep track of the cards, and it gives you like the value of them and the grade and all that stuff. So, and look at that.
I know, I see it. I see it.
Yeah. You kiss your mother with that mouth, and then Bamboo.
It looks good, dude.
Bamboo, whatever that company is, just a regular old boring white. But
regular old boring white.
But yeah, so anytime at least I do, anytime I get into a new hobby or refine a new hobby, you start like 3D printing like everything for it, right? So like I've been 3D printing like card holders and like all kinds of stuff for holding the numerous amounts of Magic cards that I have accrued over the last like 2 weeks. Really just that. And then I'm actually I can only show here. I'll show a very small amount of it. So that's one project I'm working on. But I'll show everybody that more. I got to wait a couple more weeks just to hammer out a few things, but that's been a project I've been working on. So, but
like nice.
Just that.
Yes.
So
what's anything going on in the news lately? This week's been pretty quiet.
Yeah. Well, other than what we're talking about tonight with a group, we actually have guests tonight. And when I say guests, I mean plural, as in 4 guests, all from the singular group. But should be a good discussion about their stuff, and then some other new things that came out that are kind of based on their stuff. So we'll talk about that once we bring them on, which will be right about now, unless Steve's got some other things to.
I have nothing else.
Yep.
I have nothing else. We can jump right into it.
Yeah. So without any more delay, let's bring on our group. So I'm going to add them on now. We've got Anthony, Safe, Nathan, aka the networking guy, and Koosh, all from Positron. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
How is everybody?
I'm doing great. I just got back from Sanjay Mortimer Rep Rap Festival, where as a community, we raised over, I believe it was 111,000 pounds for the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Foundation.
It's wild.
Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, so if anybody in chat, everybody in chat is probably familiar with it, but Smurf, Sanjay Mortimer Rep Festival, they raise money for that foundation. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out. If you have a chance to get to where is it in? Is it in Manchester? No.
Yes. At least this year is in Manchester, as it was last year. The first year that it was around, it was in I forget the one place, but it's a prestigious school. Oxford. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really fun this year. We raised a lot of money. Grant and I ate a crap ton of hot sauce, and at the very end, we all partook in a Carolina Reaper and proceeded to want death upon ourselves for solid 5 minutes.
I have myself partaken in what do we got going on here?
Doesn't because the text is right over top of Safe's face. Wasn't just
it's a babe. He's not
swamping.
Yeah. So
there's none that'll work for it.
Well,
I have partaken in a Carolina Reaper. If anybody hasn't, it's quite. I like hot. That's hot.
Not to plug another stream, but Grant did live stream it, so it is still up as a VOD on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if you go to 3D Musketeers, you can watch us all, everyone but Tommy from Prusa, die from this Carolina Reaper. Tommy just sat there like, oh, that's quite nice, and we're all just in the other parts of the video, in the process of our souls leaving our body.
He should go on Hot Ones. The bomb probably won't bother him.
Oh, yeah, the bomb doesn't bother me. I enjoy that.
He made sure to leave his soul at home before he came there because he knew it was happening.
That's Tommy for you.
So, what's going on in the world of the Positron, and what do you guys? So we had you on in the past, but now that the big boy Positron has been out, what's been going on in your world?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm happy to really talk about more publicly than I guess I have, and this is more just I haven't really talked about it, not out of like hesitation or anything, but for the most part, the team has grown substantially. Koosh, Nathan, and Safe here have become really prominent members of the team as I've gone on to bigger roles in the community. So I wanted to bring them on with me here because they can give some more insight onto the more individual projects as we more so democratize Positron as a whole. So it's not just me anymore. And I'm really glad it's not just me anymore because holy crap, I can't keep up with these guys.
Well,
so Koosh, go ahead and introduce yourself, the projects you've worked on. And go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my name is Koosh. You can find me on Discord and the Positron server and probably a lot of others. Personally, about me, I graduated last December with my engineering degree from Penn State. That's when I met these guys because I was like, hey, I know a little bit about designing things and electronics and whatnot. I studied electromechanical engineering, so kind of my hobby and something I really enjoyed doing. Good in CAD work. I worked at Autodesk as well. Funny enough, I'm in the finance field now, so that's even helping Positron even more now. So projects I've worked on for Positron, well, Proton, you probably saw it at East Coast Red Hat Festival last year. That was a project. Pretty much it was completely from scratch in a few months that we designed that and had it built and tested and everything. What else? Other projects that we're working on. I've helped a little bit here and there with Crucia Wire. I'm also doing beta testing for the 3.3 toolhead for the nozzle tap for Positron. And what else? We are also testing the redundant power supply board for the Positron and USB-C power for it. And that's for me. That's it right now. So I'll hand over to one of these other guys here.
Yeah. So we can go. We'll roll right down the line. Nathan.
Yeah, I'm Nathan. I've been at Positron for I want to say it's well over a year now. Nomad would probably know the date better than me.
I think it's been about almost 2 years.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Because I remember it wasn't even really like hey, I'm part of Positron now. It was literally just me forming into the gelatinous mass.
It was 2 years because Google Photos was like, hey, remember this photo from 2 years ago? And it was you, me, and Mitch in the hotel room doing that like stupid boy band photo that we did as a joke.
God. Yeah, that was in your and Mitch's room because you guys got a room at the fancy hotel. Yeah. Meanwhile, I was down at the Dime a Dozen hotel like a mile down the road.
We need that photo, though. Can we get that photo, please?
Yes, we need that.
Absolutely. No, I'll definitely be posting that once I find it again.
Yeah, I just love the fact
we took a photo like all smiling, and I'm like, all right, now imagine we're a boy band.
Yes, we need a copy of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of Positron, I used to work for Lufthansa. Now I'm in Agile Space Industries for their space test center that they're building here local to me.
Nice. So what part of the Positron crew are you responsible for or is it just kind of everything?
Public relations, pretty much.
Yeah.
It used to be IT stuff, but then all that stuff got set up and there was nothing more to do with it, so...
Quietly keeping our website online despite efforts.
Yeah, see, that's when as Nathan also, I also work in IT, so when everything is boring and working as it is, that's a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only when people are complaining that IT is even like a thought. So good job.
I looked at my Cloudflare account yesterday and I realized, I still have all of the Positron Cloudflare pages up and running.
Yep.
Man, I clicked on one of them. I was like, I wonder what this is for. It says Posi something, and it was a Rickroll.
Yep.
So, and then we have Safe.
Yep. Safe here. I am sort of an engineer on the day job, and then I troll Reddit and tell people to buy stuff from KB3D and also somehow manage the Crucia Wire initiative in all of its various forms. So yeah, thanks for having us on.
Oh, no problem. So so I mean, I always say the Positron, but you get the Proton, and then you also have, I always forget about the Crucia Wire, but that's a thing too. And how has that whole project been going?
It's been a lot. So basically, Nomad came up with the idea, as most things happen. Nomad's really good at the idea generation, and then got handed off to Ella, or Ella took over the project and brought it over to Beta 1. And what that was here's the CAD, go assemble it like the CAD, which is great. It's a great starting point. What I've then done is taken her initial design and really refined it and added the quality of life things that are required to make a design feasible, both from a cost perspective as well as a quality of life perspective. So, we are really close to releasing what we are calling R1, which is going to include, but not be limited to, the manual, the STLs, the CAD, and hopefully kits coming soon. TM.
Nice.
And that has been a lot of work.
So the kits that you're referring to, will that include? That's going to be a kit that you also need separate the Prusa parts for, right? Or is it going to include everything?
So that's still to be determined. For sure, there's going right now. Retailers like KB3D and West3D offer the hardware as a kit, and we will be trying to get the printed parts.
Because I will say this, because it uses the Prusa frame, the frame itself likely will not be available in that kit because there's going to be many different ways to get that frame for super cheap.
Yeah.
But for ones like the bare version, which I know Sif is working on, that might be as a kit because that's just extrusions that's cut down to the correct size.
Bear's tricky.
It's tricky. But no promises on that right now. But there will be a path available for those that want it.
Nice.
There will be a path for literally every single variation.
Yeah.
For rod size, for frame. By the way, did you know that Prusa changed the frame between the Mark III and the Mark IV?
It's very slight, but yes.
Yes. I know it's very slight. Ask me how I know. Yes. The challenge with Prusa wire has been and continues to be scope creep and variation control.
Yep. But you've been doing a great job with it, man.
Yeah, I've been trying.
And I think the last thing, and something that I like to just mention here, is with the democratization of the Prusa of the Positron team, is my new role at Prusa3D, as I am one of the community. I'm not community manager, but I'm community specialist. So you'll see myself very often on the Prusa socials, just helping people and everything in that regard. And yeah, being more active in bridging that connection between the community and Prusa, because we're trying to reestablish that connection that we've always had, but hasn't had that. Like, we care. We gotta do better at that.
That's smart though, man. I mean, yeah, I think companies are starting to see the importance of like the community connection.
Yeah,
it works. It works a lot, man. Like people really like to be involved with the companies that they're using, and it's such a niche down hobby right now that everybody knows everybody for the most part.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think we've talked before is that like there's everybody in 3D printing, and then there's us, right? The 3D printing community that are in it all the time and know everything about it. And I think those are the people that like to be really involved in the companies but it's good because all of us that are involved in all of these different companies, you're like unpaid marketers, right? Because when you're invested in a company, you go out and push that company. So like when you're us who like the Positron, anybody who is not on the team or with one of the companies will take the Positron and go talk about the Positron, right? So it's like, it's, free advertisement if you are a company or an open source project and you involve the community members in it, they'll be your biggest cheerleader. So, I think Positron always, did a really good job with that in the beginning, early on. That everybody, the Discord always does that really well, right? Like if you have a really good, strong Discord with a lot of people and it's very active, it can tend to help just foster that community relationship. So, but we the Positron, the Proton, the Prusa wire. Is there anything else that you guys are kind of? So I know like big ideas.
Tech Jeeper, that is absolutely, positively false. You're addicted, Chad, and you know it.
Actually, is great. But no, the one thing we didn't mention was Gluon, which I have an early alpha of here, which this is just a really early alpha test of what Gluon was. It has changed so much since I worked on it last. But the idea was a extruder that only extended about, I want to say, 8 to 9 millimeters from a stepper motor and was able to fit within the Positron toolhead to give Positron direct drive. Georges is not here with us to talk about that, but that is a concept I came up with and passed over to him, and he's been absolutely running wild with it. So the idea is that eventually what we want to do is, at least for the Positron, we want to incorporate all these new things we've been working on, the battery backup, the direct drive, the nozzle tap, not all in the same version. Right now, the nozzle tap's 3.3, and that's what we're going to be incorporating. But we're hoping that all these things that we're working on is agnostic to the platform. So, like, Kush is working on this battery backup system. Any Voron or open source printer that runs 24 volts will be able to use this board he's developing to have a battery backup system that runs off of any bog standard USB-C power brick that has enough output to run a printer. And that's honestly really awesome. It's amazing. The nozzle tap we're working on is going to be something that goes to all Voron printers, goes to all Clipper, Calico. And so we're hoping that it's going to allow for really high accurate nozzle tap and hopefully maybe even something more like dynamic pressure advance and all that. Mind you, we're not working on that alone. We're working with LFox and the team there to work on that more. And of course, just everything else that we've been doing, just because we're the kind of the crazy ones that throws everything at the wall and just sees what sticks.
Hey,
like,
I mean,
I remember before the Nighthawk board was being released for Vorons, we were testing the whole ideology of USB toolheads on the Positron to make sure that was usable. And then LDO took what we learned from that and went even further, and it was wonderful. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, anything. I think when you have an open source project, or you just have a group of people working to solve an engineering problem, I think a lot of times that's that mindset of just throw out as many ideas and throw as much blank at the wall as you can and hope that something sticks, and then take that and run with it. But so is the idea about direct drive positron just for like flexibles and stuff, like, that you can...
Honestly, it's one of the biggest complaints about. So that I would say when you talk to people about positron, let's be real here. It's a kit. It's a Bowden extruder, and it doesn't have any probe. Those are kind of the three complaints.
If I may, one of the problems with the positron design is just the nature of how, when it was developed, it was all state-of-the-art technology. And with how fast this industry develops as a whole, it is at a breakneck speed. If we go back and look just 3 years ago what was capable on desktop 3D printing, it feels like it was 10 years ago. It doesn't feel like it was 3 years ago. It feels like it was 10 years ago. So when Kraylin and I was designing positron roughly 3.5 years ago, the latest and the best type of like nozzle probing that was for open source printers was literally attaching a wire to your nozzle and to your heat bed and touching the two to close the circuit. But we couldn't do that with glass. So we defaulted to IR because nozzle probing with a strain gauge just wasn't a thing. It wasn't really developed. And, once that became way more popular with the MK4, the XL, then it was like, oh, well, okay, that definitely would have worked better. But you know what? We're going to keep going. And
with what
we couldn't really at the time compress the extruder any further down, so it had to be a Bowden extruder. And so we just worked with the orbiter on the exterior of the positron. But now we're getting to the point where we're figuring out all these thermal masses, all these tools are allocated to us to be able to figure out, oh, we can fit an entire extruder on this tool head and have the heat break be so little that we won't compromise on temperature, while at the same time having nozzle tap. Like, all this stuff happens so quickly, it's difficult to keep up.
Yeah. And I know, like I mean, one of my favorite things has been, so like I'm a big fan of Cheetah printers, and like the Cheetah Q2 has been for me so good, and that's one of their first printers that they've changed to putting integrating the load cell within the hot end in order to probe the bed. And in the design that they have, it's been life changing compared to what they've had before, which that they had inductive probes and other various and BL touches. But so yeah, it'd be interesting to see. So with the Positron, you've got that, and then the inability to print flexibles. But I mean, it's really small. Or it's really small. Yeah, but it's really small complaints, right, that people have with it. It's
not really large complaints, and we've proven that. I think ADA actually works fine on the Positron because we have things so tightly controlled.
Yeah.
It is just, of course, a Bowden setup is just not a great setup, but it's a short Bowden setup.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference.
I think I've seen people print 95A without an
issue,
right?
It's not necessarily the stiff TPUs. It's what do I have?
I mean, obviously, we're not printing Ninja Flex.
I mean,
so anything 85A or under, you're gonna.
I do have.
But TPU works, and it's not the
it's not showing up.
Quote unquote TPU for AMS. No, it's like actual proper TPU.
There we go. That's going to be backwards. It says it is.
It's only backwards.
TPE Orbitech custom production. Warning: near impossible to print. If you enjoy a challenge, this will beat you up and take your money.
Wonderful.
You don't know about this.
Yep. We should. We need that type of description on You Kiss Your Mother with That Mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I have yet to print this stuff, but I mean, it is a valid complaint. To be clear, not everyone wants to deal with the Bowden nature. So if we can improve upon it, let's do it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think those should be two different people, because if you're building a positron, you're not like your average, printing person, so like, sure, like you should probably already have another machine that can do TPU, at the lower levels, at the softer levels. And like for that to be a complaint that you guys are receiving, to me blows my mind, because I'm like, okay, cool, but also,
Yeah, I mean, if someone purchased a positron kit, built the positron, and said, "Oh, I like it, but I now realize I can't print TPU," I would have been like,
dude.
"Really? No, come on, like that." Like, you didn't buy that printer for it to be your TPU. You bought it because, one, it's awesome, and two, you're printing upside down, right? Like that's why you bought this printer.
Well, the biggest reason,
and you can take it with you. You can travel with it.
Yeah.
So the travel aspect is the most
biggest
important
thing for me.
Because what we designed Positron for was simply, when we were in university, we didn't want to lug around Ender 3s or these larger machines to our workshops, where we had access to like university printers, but they weren't good, because of course this is 6 years ago, when the most popular machine was the Ender 3 because of how cheap it was, and Bamboo didn't exist at all, believe it or not, and the great machines were of course Ender 3s, or not, sorry, Mark 3s. Prusa Mark 3s were like the best machine you could buy. This was a weird time in the hobby where things were still evolving. So what we decided was, rather than lug our own personal printers around, we wanted to take a Ender 3, essentially shove it into a filament box and make it portable, so that we could bring our own machines that are tuned, good to go, ready, and able to print anywhere we want to go.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's the thing. Like, the upside down printing is really cool. But for me, it's just the portability, right? Of like being able to pack it up. And we're like, Steve went to Toronto. What was it, last year, Steve? and the whole time he was there, he was designing something, and he kept sending files to us at home and be like, "Can you print this? Because I'm designing something in Toronto and I don't have a printer."
Yeah,
and
that
his
trip
first
was
thought
like-
was like, "Oh, I need a positron, right?" Like, I
Yeah,
could've brought it with
100%.
me.
It's like,
and we're very happy with the fact that we got the positron to where it was. Over 1,000 people have positron at this point, and that's not something like we ever really anticipated, because we made it for fun. We're not making it to sell or to make money. We made it just because it was a cool thing, because people wanted it, and LDO was cool enough to make a kit. That was awesome.
So now I wanted to talk. So we had reached out to you after last stream because of the new upside down printer that people are now seeing, and it's called the Muon3D M1, which you guys are familiar with, right?
Yes. So we worked with Muon originally, actually, on the glass heat bed. Was part of an original partnership we had with them.
Yep.
Like when we first came out with kits, and then they submitted the design for their heat bed to us for LDO to manufacture in mass. At least if I recall that correctly.
Yeah.
Obviously, comments can help correct me. It's been a while, but we did work with them for the initial ITO glass heat bed, and they kind of took that, and from my understanding, they kept working on these ideas to release what they showed off at Smurf the other week.
Yeah. So
and to be clear, like what they showed is incredibly impressive. I want to be perfectly clear about that. What they showed is, from a mechanical perspective, is incredibly impressive, as well as from an industrial design perspective.
Yeah. And so I have unfortunately only had the pleasure of seeing the videos and the images and stuff that posted from Smurf. When Steve and I first saw it, and we talked about it on last week's episode, my first thought, and I've heard it from a lot of people, is it looks like a Mac Mini, right? Like it's a Mac Mini as in a positron form. Now, had you guys seen it before it was kind of released pre-Kickstarter, or did you kind of see it?
Just really quick, guys. I lost track of time today, and I have a very poor time delivery coming that I'm going to have to actually go and put the stuff up for. Oh, okay. I'm going to dip out. Right. If I end up getting time, I'll come back and chat a bit with y'all.
Okay. Thanks, Nathan.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, Harry from Muon did show me this before they showed it off at Smurf, and it looks pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it does. I always kind of save judgment for like it's in front of me and I've actually seen it, because videos and images and even I think sometimes when you see a machine at an event, it often doesn't portray what you're gonna get if you Kickstarter a printer or if you purchase a printer in the end. But it looks well made. The battery for it, I think it said something like 10 hours of PLA printing. I think it was down to like
15 PLA, 10 PETG, and then
it was like 5 ASA, I think, or something.
It was very dense.
Yeah.
But so my first impressions of it were essentially, this is cool. Mm-hmm. I would like one, but it is not something that I necessarily need in my fleet.
Yeah,
because I've been downsizing my fleet quite significantly. I've went from having 10 printers.
What's in your background?
I went down from having 10 printers to having a Core 1, Core 1L, a Mini, and a Prusa wire. I still have a couple positrons, but those are just in the back of my car for whenever I need them on occasion. And I mean, I think one thing that, like, there's an elephant in the room in this past year and a half when it comes to the 3D printing hobby, and that's affordability. Kits aren't as affordable as they used to be. and that's really hurt the industry. You know, LDO sponsored Sanjay Mortimer, but they didn't have presence this year, and it hurts. Like it's really sad because we come from this open source community, and I think the last thing we want to see die is the open source community, because we stand on the shoulders of giants. All these people that do this stuff for fun is really important to keep the hobby alive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the one drawback that like the Muon has is just the price, right? Because it's a finished product and it's polished, as people have said. A $1,200 price tag for it is quite steep, right? Like it's not going to be I don't think at $1,200 it's going to be a printer. It's probably that a lot of people are going to have. I think it's fitting that it kind of looks Apple Mac Mini-esque because the price point kind of reflects that as well. I think where the Positron 6 at what is it, $650 for the kit? From the LDO kit. That's, and I've heard people say like they think that is at the higher end, but that to me that's a price of a kit for a printer like that. Yeah, if you really want a travel printer, that's not a bad price, right? Like that's not a bad price to have a printer that you could put in a suitcase and take on an airplane with you.
I mean, what's your competition in the? I need a port, and I'm going to define portable very specifically here. I need a printer that will be able to compact and be reinstalled in a very, for that sub 200 by 200.
Well, yeah, unless you're seeking, or unless you're looking at other open source printers. There's a few other open source printers that are packable and things, but they've never gotten to the successful nature like Positron, and they're not kitted. They're not, LDO's not making kits. You're not buying them from KB3D. So unless you're digging through GitHub and have the ability to source your own printer, look through CAD and build one, Positron's basically it, right? And then now you may
I would throw in the Mini in there, but that's kind of a.
But even the Mini, you're not going to bring on a print. You're not going to bring on an airplane unless you do a certain amount.
Well, you'd have to collapse the Z-axis. But
you're talking about the Mini belt. You're talking about the belt printer.
Sorry,
no, the Prusa
Mini.
Prusa
Mini, because you could take that Z-axis, you could disassemble it, and you could reassemble it.
Only 3 screws.
Yeah, and I think you could do that with a few printers. The King Rune, there's some other stuff.
I think the belt printer as well. So
I think the biggest thing, though, let's look at this. So I believe like the margin on Positron is slim for LDO. It's not a lot. I think the BOM we were able to get down, I think, to like 400 something, and herein lies the biggest issue. If you look at the Prusa Mini, I believe, and I'm going to say this real quick, I do not know specific numbers on the Mini when it comes to margins. I just understand how much it costs to make a machine. The Mini is in a similar ballpark problem area where you're looking at a printer that costs $600 for a Prusa Mini. Right now, about $600 with the enclosure included, but it's always been around that ballpark. Yeah. And it's always been hard to justify the Mini because for just a little bit more, you can get the MK4S, and then just a little bit more, the Core 1.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Because the problem is the most expensive part of any 3D printer is the electronics. And when you go to a smaller size, like an MK4 to Mini, you're not getting rid of the electronics. You're just getting rid of some of the lesser expensive items, such as a smaller build plate.
Yeah. So an example of that would be this, right?
So that's Apogee, right?
No. This is the antithesis 3D printer, right?
Yeah.
So this is a 130 by 100, right?
Yep.
But to source all, depending on the parts you put on this, to source everything yourself and to build this printer, you're about $350, which for a 100 by 130, is not an inexpensive amount for that size printer, and it's still not too bad. But everything on this, right, that you put in something like this, the electronics, the hot ends, the extruders, it's all the same price of a printer that is 300 by 300, right? The motors, it's the framing and the structural parts that are different, but all of the electronics and all of that stuff are the same. So
what's the Micron's tagline? It's smaller except for in price, or was it V2 but smaller except for price?
Yeah, because I think if you use good parts, you're only going to be able to get down, regardless of how small the printer is, you're only going to be able to get down to a certain dollar amount with quality parts. And then that's basically it.
And that's kind of like the biggest problem right now in the overall community. Whenever, like, even when we came out with the Positron, like, it was brand new, state of the art, whatever. I won't say state of the art. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. Every single time we talked about it, everyone would be like, what about the A1? What about this? What about that? That is the difficult challenge, because what you're facing is subsidy versus sourcing. Because all the major 3D printing brands coming out of China, I want to be clear, I'm not trying to be xenophobic or anything, but China has deemed 3D printing to be a strategic thing to target. And so most machines coming out of China that are assembled 3D printers, sadly LDO does not count for this. This is why their kits are more expensive. They get subsidized heavily, allowing for a machine that uses roughly $400 worth of parts to be sold for less than $400.
Yeah, I mean the Elegoo Centauri Carbon was a perfect example of that, right? Like for $299, you're actually losing money, right? Like you cannot physically build that printer for $299 and make money on it. It's just impossible unless somebody
you have another right at the new source.
Yeah,
I mean, Kush, when we looked at some of our other projects, if you want, I don't know if you want to talk about your board, but
yeah, we can.
That's cool.
Pricing for that's a little tricky though. But for the board it's a circuit board. I don't want to relate a small circuit board to a whole printer. That's kind of like two different ballparks. But for the Muon, I think maybe from my point of view, it's like buying a battery pack like this versus building one. If you build one, it's obviously not going to be as elegant. It's not going to have a nice OLED screen on the front that displays everything. I think it's, for its price, if I didn't work for Positron, I'd probably go for a Muon just because of it looks really nice. And also, I mean, I have an iPhone, so maybe that says something about me. But from an engineering standpoint, you're really paying for the form factor. And the inside of it is the same as, again, any other printer. They're probably using an off-the-shelf mainboard. I don't know what they had in the video. I haven't seen the inside of the machine at all. But I don't think they designed their own custom mainboard. That wouldn't really make any sense.
They could have, but not to discredit them. They could have.
No, I don't know. This is all speculation. I have no idea. I only know as much as I saw from that trailer video that they put on YouTube. But that aluminum housing is gorgeous.
It looks great.
I look at it and I'm like, wow, I wish we could do that. Really cool.
And that would be amazing if we could.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's always great to see things like the Lemontron and the Muon and other derivative works is you see how people tackle problems in different ways, and that's always wonderful. Again, going back to the fact that we stand on the shoulders of giants in the open source community. As as we credit each other and work off each other's work, we can see how other people figure out problems and solutions. So when I work with the HT90 at the office, and we have CPAP cooling on the HT90. When figuring out, we got to put direct drive into the toolhead for the Positron, we were trying to think of how the hell are we going to cool the toolhead. CPAP was absolutely one of the ideas that came to mind. Mind you, we haven't really thought too much on this because we were still worried about how the hell we were going to squish an entire extruder into the toolhead of the Positron. Cooling comes later. We'll figure that out later. But when Harry showed me Muon, it kind of clicked. I'm like, just use the CPAP tube as the umbilical, and I thought that was brilliant.
It's really cool
and
very elegant.
they told us that we could absolutely steal the idea, and if we do, credit to them for coming up with that. That was great.
I think one really, and this is maybe it's the form factor. I know there are a couple of other folks doing upside down stuff, but I would say one of the things that's really encouraging is the collaboration between essentially the different, products where you have, and granted, we have not seen production muons, but you have the polished version of the muon. You have sort of the mid-tier, which is Positron, as a fully sourced assembled kit, and then you have Lemontron, who's doing really great work on the self-source side, and that's great. And I think one of the things that's encouraging is we credit each other. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have, I mean, like I have said on multiple times, like when I hear people saying like, oh, this is a clone of this is a clone of this. In the end, right? Whether it's whatever inspires another printer, it's just another printer that we have available, right? Like it's another printer that someone can buy who maybe wouldn't have been able to buy another one, or just for whatever reason didn't. I to have another upside down packable travel printer for maybe people that don't have the ability or wouldn't even want to build a positron is kind of neat. Like that was the one thing when I saw the Muon, I was like, oh, okay. Like if you want a travel printer, like if you're Steve, right, and you're going to Toronto, Steve could buy and build a positron, no problem. But if Steve wanted a packable travel portable printer to bring to Toronto and didn't want to have to build one, something like the Muon could provide that. So that's neat too, right? And I think that might be the value. And I heard someone actually say, and I hadn't really thought of this because my first initial thought of like, oh, $1,200 for the printer, and then it was what, like $300 or $500 for the battery pack. But $1,200, I was like $500, yeah. So if you have, but if you don't do the battery, it's just $1,200. I was like, wow, that's kind of an expensive printer. But then I was thinking, well, they're in the UK, right? So and someone was like, a $1,200 printer manufactured and assembled in the UK is not a bad price, right? In the UK, like this isn't the ability to build a manufacturer in China, which you have much lower costs. So it's when I thought of that, when they said that, I was like, oh, it's really not that bad, right? Like it's
it is the same argument when you go to, like, say again, from a manufacturer overseas to Prusa, for example, there is those economies of scale. And, I think is, even for Positron, we never had the economy of scale necessarily in our favor, because again, after so many years, we've only sold like, I want to say 1,200 units, which again, just for the fact that people bought that just to have something cool, it's awesome. Especially since we're not out to make profit. But when you're working at economies of scale like Prusa is, it's a completely different ball game. And immediately, you're not making a kit just for the fun of making a kit and making sure that there's the availability for it, but you then have to pay back investors. You have to meet quotas for things. It gets complicated really quickly, and I wish them the best of luck in that regard.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would guess that there are 10,000 open source projects on GitHub right now that would kill to sell 1,200 of anything, right? Like, so for anybody who, like, I have developed open source electronic stuff, and they've been on GitHub, and they've been on GitHub to the point where, like, I haven't even opened them up to the public because, one, you're nervous about how it's going to be received, right? Like you and a team have built something, and then you have to get over the hurdle of even releasing that to the public just to see how it's received. Then, if it is received well, to have enough people interested in it, one, to get a kit So when you guys even got the LDO kit, I mean, that was a big milestone, right? And then to have, over 1,000 of them sold, I mean, that's really cool. I don't know if any. I'm trying to think back of
there's Kickstarters that would love to
Positron.
sell 1,000 units.
Yeah, and like I tried to think back of like when I found out about Positron. Did I have the thought that you guys would be where you're at now, or was I like, oh, that's neat, but nobody's ever going to build one, right? Like,
so
I
if you
don't
go
remember.
back in the original Kraylin Discord, you'll even see me and Kraylin saying that we were avoiding things like Kickstarter because the fact of the matter is, at least when we were developing Positron, there was a lot of 3D printer Kickstarters that came up and then delivered nothing, and it was really bad. And of course, and this is still kind of a problem to this day, where 3D printing Kickstarters happen, and it's by companies that absolutely can just fund their own project. It's like, why is this company doing a Kickstarter? They clearly have the money to make the product, and I think I'm going to put Anycubic on the spot here. I think they did it recently. Or it was one of the resin printer manufacturers. They did Kickstarter, and then like a couple months later, they came out with the max version of that printer. So it's like, you guys clearly were developing this and already had funding for it. Like, why are you doing Kickstarter?
That was part of the SnapMaker too, right? The SnapMaker U1. That was one of the arguments against the SnapMaker U1 was, why are they doing it on Kickstarter?
And I will say the flip side of that, you look at some of the comments on Luke's lab.
Hold on, before we go further down. That's why we avoided Kickstarter for Positron. Instead, LDO was absolute chads, and they took the bulk of the risk, and we decided to just do things in batches. So we would create a batch of Positrons. If that sold out, we'd create another batch of Positrons. That sold out, we'd create, and that way, by doing it without the Kickstarter, at the very minimum, if we didn't meet goals, we could at least ensure that people got something through the correct channels. We at least were able to say, you put money into this and you got something for that, guaranteed. There wasn't going to be like a rug pull or anything like that. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that Muon's going to do that. I'm just talking about the greater industry that has had a history of doing it.
Too late, you already said it, man.
As Safe was about to say, like, Luke's lab is a phenomenal example of a Kickstarter going right, where he is bringing manufacturing back to the United States through this funding, and the nozzles he's making are absolutely just out of this world. So I wish that for them.
I think unfortunately Kickstarter has, because of existing companies like the SnapMaker U1 and other ones that have been hugely successful, I think you've given some people that back those type of projects on Kickstarter a false sense of security, right? Because you got these huge companies like the SnapMaker U1. I don't know if anybody backed that and ever had the thought that SnapMaker wasn't going to produce that, right? Like, it was pretty.
Well, it was already out because they had it under X.
So I think doing that gives these other projects that are true Kickstarters that may fail. I think it gives people a false sense of security to see all these big companies doing it. That's the only complaint I have about it, is that once you start to see all those, then someone backs the SnapMaker U1 and a bunch of other big companies doing it, and then they back something else that is a true Kickstarter, and it fails and they lose money, right? Like,
or even worse. I mean, and I know I keep, sorry for butting in here, but if you look at some of the comments that folks have put on Luke's Labs page, they have been extremely nasty. And I feel for Luke, because what he's doing is incredibly ballsy.
I think
enormous risk. And while I know that the timing has not worked out in his favor, he has been very transparent in what his capabilities and as a supplier,
Yeah, I think most people that know Luke's laboratory understands that he's doing something more than just manufacturing a product, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to instill a movement in the United States of starting to manufacture stuff here, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then not just himself, but getting other people to say, oh, I can build stuff or I can do that. So Luke's Kickstarters, to me, aren't just his product, but it's also him. He has a more heartfelt meaning behind it, I think. Like if you've actually seen him talk, and he talked about it when we actually had him on Unspooled, was that his whole idea is to get more people in the United States manufacturing, because he's frustrated with the lack of manufacturing here as well. So,
and so are we at Prusa. We're building up this factory in Delaware specifically to bring manufacturing back to the States, because we want made in USA 3D printers. Well, that's something we truly want. We're very proud of the fact that we've kept printers made in Europe and made in Prague. And has it been cheap? No, but that's not the point. The point of the matter is that we're bringing these machines to be still made locally within these regions, where we can employ people locally, we can give people jobs, we can make sure people are taken care of. Like we brought me on at Print and Solid, Mitch, we got Gabe, Lucky 13. You know, we're bringing the community together here because this is something we're all very passionate about, and that's not something that other companies really are doing. So by refocusing on the domestic market in the domestic region, we're not just re-supporting these communities, but we're really just caring about what's going on in the 3D printing community as a whole.
I brought this. Nomad, do you know what this is?
Yes, that's a mini plate.
No, it's not.
What? Oh, okay. Well, mind you, it's small to me. It's a Y carriage.
Yeah.
For?
What printer?
Tell us what for?
Know it.
A Prusa wire.
No, it's not.
MK3?
No, it's not. It's an MK2.
Cool, buddy.
The fact that I can get parts for this is one of the big benefits that you get with something like, you know, Prusa or Positron or
with open source.
Prusa. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy MK3 beds everywhere, right? I have
a 12-volt Mark 52 bed over on the Mark II.
Well, I saw the other day right on Amazon, you can buy a Mark III carbon fiber Y plate. Right on Amazon, right?
I don't know why you would, but you could.
I don't know. I was looking through some stuff and I was like, oh, okay, somebody's making that and selling it on Amazon. But
that's when we talk about, you know, open source versus closed source. One of the benefits that Prusa has historically had is that by making their printers off the shelf items, I can get parts.
Yeah. And
now there's a downside to that, which is Prusa doesn't control the supply of all the printer parts.
At least for any self-sourcing, yeah. But you know, we've been really, and this is now Nomad speaking on Prusa here. You know, we've been doing our best to maintain that, you know, right to repair ideology. And one of the really cool things that I've been seeing crop up as a result of that is once we released the firmware for the high temp hot end for the Core 1 and Core 1L, people immediately figured out how to make their own and are now printing, you know, PEC CF and PPS CF on their Core 1s because the hardware already exists. You just need a V6 heat block, a PT1000 thermistor, and a heating element that can get you up to 500 Celsius, and you have everything you need.
Yeah, I mean, I think I one of the things with Prusa that has always that I have always found interesting was that they're able to do. I guess I'll say a lot with a little, right? Like they don't. And I hate this term, but they don't reinvent the wheel, right? Like they don't design a new printer just to have something new, right? Like they have an MK4, they have an MK3, an MK3S, which I loved, right? And then you have the MK4, and then with the MK4, you had a whole bunch of people saying, "Why are you making an MK4? I want a Core 1." So what do? They take a freaking MK4 and they turn it into a Core 1. Like, who does that, right?
I think the story literally was, I think we took the bent sheet steel panels from the MK4 official enclosure, and then we gave one of the engineers just an MK4 kit and said, "Make a new printer out of this. Good luck, buddy. You better have a good reason for any changes."
Yeah, but no, and I hear all kinds of people giving Prusa crap for years, right? For all kinds of stuff, and usually it's somebody that's in some other company's camp, right? But the one thing I don't think, if you're looking at it with an open mind, I just don't think anybody could actually look at Prusa and knock them for their ingenuity, right? Like their ability to just make something really cool that nobody else would even think about doing, right? Like,
I think a great example is the vent flap. Like, it is such a simple mechanism that requires little mechanical engineering to do.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put Bamboo on the spot here. Why, Servo? Why do I need another electronical component to open a flap when the tool head is perfectly capable of just going forward and doing it itself, and then I have less parts to worry about repairing if something goes wrong?
It's the same thing with tool head cutters, right? So back in the day, before Bamboo came out and AMSs came out, when people were trying to come up with ways to cut filament for retraction versus having to tip shape when you changed color or you changed material, people were coming up with tool heads that had servo cutters in them, right? But they were big, bulky, added weight. It was kind of ridiculous. And I don't know who it was, but at some point, somebody came up with just a spring-loaded cutter that you jam the tool head up against a frame piece and cut the filament, right?
Yeah.
Super simple, very mechanical. Now, if you think about it, I mean, it's somewhat old school, but it works, right? So I think that adage of what KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Like sometimes simple is the best way of making something.
Yes.
And we're going to take a second here just to shout out the fact that we just released some release candidate firmware for Prusa. And we'll get back to Positron stuff. I'm excited about this. But we all know the MMU. And the MMU uses tip forming as its method of multi-material printing. And I think we just shaved off another 9 seconds per tool change, which makes it competitive with an actual tool changer.
Nice. I have not had, so the last time I had it was the second generation MMU, so the MMU2 on my MK3 originally, and that's the last time I had an MMU from Prusa. It did not go well, but I mean it worked, but it wasn't like the bugs ironed out. I have heard that the latest version is significantly better, and people have really good.
I was able to get to the point. So I sold my 5 tool at XL, but I had a 5 tool at XL, and then I had my Core 1 with MMU 3, and I was making a crap ton of maker chips, but the Core 1 was faster because the way it was doing tip forming and the way that it was doing everything it was doing with a 0.25 nozzle, it was just printing the chips faster than the XL could keep up with. And it is just purely because of optimizations that have been done in the software. I think the MMU, especially with what's coming out in current release candidate firmware, is really a great example of you don't need to change the hardware so much You have to optimize your software. And I think this also really bodes well for, again, back to Positron, what we're doing with the nozzle tap, what we're doing with a lot of the software that we're working on in the back end. And to the point of Prusa, what they're doing with their firmware and the software that's being developed is going to severely improve speeds for all tool changers, including Index.
So speaking of Index, do you think a Core 1, do you think the Index in the Prusa ecosystem will be the final nail in the coffin for the MMU?
It's been already told. Last year when it was announced, Joseph mentioned that the MMU3 was the last of its kind. We didn't really, I don't think we knew what we were going to call the next thing at the time, but Index is pretty much around the same price when it comes to hardware, if not a little bit more because of the toolhead, than the MMU. So we already said that there's not going to be an MMU4.
The MMU is tricky. The MMU is tricky, and mostly because tolerance stacks.
Yeah.
Tolerance stacks, and just it's tricky stuff.
So have you seen? So this is not Prusa or Positron related. Have you seen the full spectrum?
Yes.
Snapmaker Orca. That thing is so cool.
I've been telling people. I've been sharing every time I see that with our team. Like, ooh, guys, look, check it out.
Yeah, that thing is. You know what would be awesome to see that in Prusa Slicer for like the Index and the XL, right? Like,
it would be awesome.
I just want it.
Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face.
Okay,
I can't wait. Everybody knows that.
I need to be explicitly clear.
No, not your face.
I am not part of the dev team. I don't know what the dev team's cooking. I hope what they're cooking is some amazing Zvitskava, because that stuff's great.
Let's play poker.
I hope what they're cooking is fish. Specifically Swedish fish.
No.
That way I can send it to Nomad.
No, Svitskva.
It's Haribo, right? No, I think I love full spectrum. I have been using it since our show last week.
What I find really funny about it is this is
pretty awesome.
Really funny to me. Me and some of the guys at Print Solid, we've been saying that this should be a feature for years, but we haven't. We're not software guys. We don't know how to do it. But whenever we did multicolor prints on the XL, and the Purge Tower came out as a completely different color than what the print ever could have, we're sitting there like, "Hey, we should do that intentionally." That's a good idea.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the guy who did full spectrum. His name is like Ratdou. It's like RATDOUX, Ratdou. But it's new in a sense, but he's using an existing color blending that was from another project that was called Filament Mixer. Yeah. So the basis behind his full spectrum, I mean, he's got a ton of wizardry on top of it, but is the thing, and that was a Justin something, I don't remember his name, but he also has a GitHub. But it's pretty cool, right? Like, and that's another feather in the cap of Positron open source, right? Is you got some random guy that just now comes out with a Snapmaker full spectrum Orca version, and it's amazing, right? It's not clunky, it doesn't work weird, I haven't had a single error with it at all. I know anybody who's using it now, he's requesting to report bugs to him. I haven't had a bug. Yeah, I don't know if I'm lucky, but it's really cool. I actually think Tech Cheaper, who's in chat, I think he's been using it too, and a few other people I saw that posted on Twitter. But
that's as is with open source. The one thing that I'm glad that for the most part, a lot of players are still doing is contributing back to things like, you know, Prusa, for example, again, we're still using GPL for, you know, Prusa Slicer and for our firmware because that's really important to us. In fact, we've been encouraging people to be a little bit more creative with the firmware because we want to see people experiment. It's not super well known, but if you write custom firmware to your printer, it doesn't void the warranty. Have fun with that information, guys.
Break your stuff.
Oh, just don't do what I do when I went to go write custom firmware in my Mark IV back there. I was on the phone with Joseph, and he was like, "Oh, hey, if you want to try this, break this appendage on the board." And I was like, "Okay." He told me the exact way to do it. My board split, and a component came off the board, and he was like, "Oh, that's not supposed to happen."
Of course, Nathan.
Yeah. Only you, but no, there is for custom firmware, there is a little trace on the board that you have to cut in order for it to allow custom firmware. That will not void your warranty if you do that. That is just a, hey, this is a safety measure to make sure no one's installing malicious firmware on your machine.
It has been fixed since I've done that. They went through a small revision that did fix it. It's a very clear appendix to see. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have, if you guys are out there with Prusas, mod your firmware. Cut your traces.
I'll say
you heard it here
cool
first.
Stuff.
As someone who has was it like 5 Rambo boards, the fact that I can write firmware is really nice.
Yeah.
Like
now anybody with access to AI can write firmware.
And
yeah, but the ability to not have to do that is
just remember, kids, only you can prevent 3D printer fires.
We had a funny bug actually pop up in the GitHub on the Prusa firmware, and so it's like, you guys disabled thermal runaway protection, and then I had to go like, no, we didn't. For whatever reason, Octoprint's just reporting we didn't. And I actually had to check the code. Like, yeah, no, it's still there. Like, no.
Good.
My heat bed's at 200 Celsius, but it's still there.
For those curious, the bug is being caused because now you can declare a chamber temperature. It thinks there's a chamber heater. There's no chamber heater, but because you can declare it. This is my understanding, because you can declare it, and because the thermal runaway protection for the chamber heater isn't there, it technically doesn't have thermal runaway protection. Because you don't have thermal runaway protection on all heaters, even though there's no
heater.
Which is a preferred mechanism, because if your heat sensor fails, your thermometer fails, you want it to. You don't want to just go and go.
Yeah. But
we'll be having a talk later.
Well, so what? Let's see. We're at 9:18.
Yeah.
Do you guys have, over like the next 5 minutes or so, do you guys have anything positron related that you want to fit in before we let you guys go?
Kush, show your board.
Yeah, board.
Show us secret stuff. Yeah.
I gotta show you a picture.
Yeah,
that's fine. Here, hold on. I may or may not have something.
I saw it. I saw it today.
Yeah, he almost stole it from KB3D.
I did almost steal it.
Hold on.
Let me see if
I took a
I'll
picture
of that screen plugged in, right? And it won't explode.
I think the coolest part about this board is the fact that
battery bank.
Just bring your own battery bank. You know,
USB-C right there.
You're gonna need a light.
I think this is the one thing I want to comment on when it comes to, like, you know, open source projects. And this is actually
point it at the screen. I got you.
This is a conversation I had with Millennium Machines at Sanjay Mortimer, and that is the difference between design risk and sale risk. So I wish Muon guys the best of luck, because when they're selling these printers as fully assembled machines, they have to inherit the risk of the design, the kit, and everything. With us, since we are a full DC build, like there's no AC components inside Positron, and the way that we have approached things, we do have design risk, but because our system is a low voltage system, then the design risk really isn't high. It's a very low risk system of design. But one reason we don't have a internal power supply for the Positron is because then that dramatically increases design risk, because then someone's dealing with an exposed power supply.
Yep.
So when we were discussing the idea of bringing a battery bank to the Positron, immediately we were all like, bring your own power bank. We're not making that.
Yeah. Anytime you add batteries, and you add
spicy pillows are not our John.
Yeah. All right. You guys probably saw a Proton at East Coast. Remember the lights that it had on it, the little light bar that went down the middle?
Yep.
Yeah.
Coming to Positron. This is a very, very early prototype board that exploded. That's my fault. I'm not an electrical engineer. Anyways, I digress. Gonna sit.
Rehash my conversation about design risk.
Yes. Do at your own risk. Do not do as I'm showing you.
Do as I say, not as I do.
There you go. So there you go. Here's I'm trying to get the angle right. So you can see that's where it's going to live. That'll replace the people who have Positrons will know there's a circuit board right here that controls the power button and the DC power supply jack. That gets completely replaced by my board. So that basically empties the entire left portion of the machine for other mods. If you want to go headless, you can put the screen in here.
Nice.
Any kind of other stuff. This is a really early board. My new one will not have the Type-C on it. It will have just 2 plugs, so people can choose whether they want the Type-C or a barrel jack.
That's cool.
Yeah, so kind of flexible. And also, I don't have to get USB certifications if it doesn't have a USB plug on it. That costs like $10,000 that I don't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is it. It's pretty
cool.
much screwless install. RGB lights down the sides, has the button that you plug in here.
Fun fact.
So this will be This will be an upgradable thing for people that have Positrons now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm working with KB3D right now. So I'm working with Chris on that. ETA, I don't know when. I don't want to say any date right now because I don't want to rush. I'd rather get it done properly.
Yeah.
I have the non-RGB version in these printers. I have 3 of them, and KB3D has 2, and I think I gave Mitch one, and Safe almost stole one today. I have a few thousand hours of testing on it, so it's
the non-RGB version, which correct me if I'm wrong, will not be like specific to the form factor of Positron. That one is going to be something I'm really excited to see in the greater community, because that's essentially, you can even use that board on an MK4 kind of thing, because it is a simple redundant power supply that just goes to the highest voltage. And
yes and no. With a big asterisk next to that.
Massive asterisk.
Yes, these can do 140 watts. So any printer that doesn't draw above 140 watts, otherwise you will burn out your power supply or blow it up or whatever number of other warnings. So maybe like a V0. I don't know. I don't have one, so I don't know how much power they draw. If I know they're 24 volt, the power supplies run off 28, so close enough.
Yeah, but like it should, in theory, be able to run a Mini or an MK4. I would not try it with a Core 1. That might be a bit much, but
you could probably print PHA, but that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, we were able to get Proton to run off the same power bank, and it's significantly larger than the Positron.
We are just now seeing USB power banks that can do the full 240 watt though.
That's a whole
going to be
animal.
a good bit more.
Yeah.
Well, those are 48 volt. That's a whole nother issue.
And that's again the great part about being open source. The fact is, this is going to benefit so much more, and it's going to make Mitch's backpack printers a lot easier to carry around.
Yeah.
So of course it happens after I have to carry the 80-pound backpack at Rocky Mountain.
Yeah.
So that upgraded board, is that going to be exclusive to KB3D, or will all resellers have those?
I don't know yet. I don't want to lock anything in right now. I'm talking to Chris right now to develop it. I think at least within the US, I'd like to go through KB3D. I don't know how many Positrons are overseas, so if there's interest overseas, I'll work with any other retailer. I don't know. I'm not really good with third-party retailers and stuff, but I know I'm talking to Chris right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but everyone should be able to buy this. I'm going to make it affordable.
Nice. So if you guys are anybody in chat, if you got a Positron and you want to do cool things with it, then pick one of those up.
Yeah, here you go. And a sneak peek of the new tool head. I'm only going to show you this side. Sorry. There you go.
And that has full nozzle tap built into it.
Voila.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it's been working pretty well.
That's
I might have the trash there. Is it? No, I might have thrown it out. I had a single layer sheet of the whole bed.
That was beautiful.
Is that it? No, that's my tax receipt. Never mind.
But,
yeah.
Well, that's cool.
One layer sheet of the whole bed. It was mint. It was great.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Like, so I'm glad we kind of did this because it's cool to see that you guys aren't that you're still innovating, right? Like you haven't just kind of settled into something and then you're just now it is what it is. So it's cool that you guys are still, I mean, you're still designing boards, right? Like so
here's the non-lighting version of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can see it's much.
Yeah, that's
smaller.
I mean that's
the old model, but the new one's the same exact electronics.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tech Cheaper, you are right. You should definitely join the Positron for unlimited Prusa shilling. Oh wait.
No, but Corey, you're right. While we haven't really released much hardware, like we did come out with the Proton, but that was more a design challenge to see if we could do this, and we definitely stretched the limits of the kinematic system at that point. But it was a fun project to do. It was really fun for us to achieve, and we're very proud of the fact that we were able to do it. And that obviously brought the whole team together to be more cohesive with one another and figure out how we work better together, which is always something we've been really proud of doing. But we're always trying to just break the mold, figure out what we can do differently, see what people haven't done yet, and just have fun with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys literally invented a brand new, never seen before hot end. So and board and basically everything, right? There's nothing on the Positron really that is off the shelf, right? I mean,
it's literally the fasteners.
Yeah, other than like the fasteners and
the extrusion. The extrusion.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, and that was more of a decision with LDO when we were trying to fit all the electronics into the machine. We wanted to make it as compact as possible. And LDO was also experimenting with the Nighthawk boards and their own PCB manufacturing. So the Positron became a test bed for a lot of new technology that you would see come later down the line in LDO's own proprietary hardware and stuff like that. So, and that's kind of what Positron's still being. We're the weird test bed for stuff that's coming to the larger market, and that's just fun.
Yeah. I mean, hey, why not, right? Like if you got it and you have a good team that's able to test that stuff and put a test and then improve upon it or at least bug report on it. That's important.
Yeah. Here's a good picture of the inside of Proton. This is one of the reasons why we never sold. We're not going to sell it. Look at that. I don't want someone building that.
It was so
it was my dream of a printer, but I don't think anyone else could build it. I think there was more wire in there than the rest of the printer. Yeah. I think I used almost 100 feet of wire inside it.
So Matt, I know you've been bugging us about crazy. Proton.
If you want to buy a Proton, I think Kush is willing.
There's two that I know that are complete, and they're in my basement.
Yes.
So I don't know if I want to keep them for sentimental value, or we'll see. But
those get a very good deal on the frame.
Can we disclose how much they cost us? Is that okay if I say that?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so the metal one.
Wait, it was different. Like I heard a nah and a yeah.
The first Positron cost me almost $1,000. We can talk about it.
That's fine. Yeah. So with all the stuff that Sen sent us for the Proton Pro, the metal one, it was almost $5,000 to get that one prototype. Because those metal blocks were $400 for each one. They're billet blocks. I have one sitting over here.
Yeah. And again, economies of scale. So while the first Positron cost me almost $1,000, once we got to the scale, it was less than $400.
These are like billet custom end axes parts. This one was replaced by a printed part, but it was like completely wild.
Yes, Matt, if you want a Proton, especially the Proton Pro, they are for sale. Kush would very much like to get rid of them along with an XL some days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally believe that price because I've been for a while now. I've been working on another portable, foldable, open source printer that kind of was worked on and then kind of got shelved, and it's called the X printer. So it's a scissor printer that opens up. And just the 4 brackets on the side from Sen were $1,200.
Yep.
So
right.
yeah, it's I
I
believe
think you guys still have one of my coupons though, if you ever wanted to do that. And the maker chip. Don't forget about the maker chip too.
Yes.
Yeah, the send cut send maker chip.
Yeah, that maker chip.
One of the coolest maker
Best,
chips.
my favorite maker chip.
Yeah, and then
That's kind of a reason they don't have much scrap laying around now.
yeah, and then
It's
we
like,
have,
hey, I need more of these.
then we have Proton, which is the normal printed one, a lot simpler, a lot lighter. The entire thing is
Even
printed.
then,
That was like $200, which is not bad.
No. Yeah.
We're not going to just kill the project off. We're going to polish the CAD up, release the CAD, maybe a BOM, we'll see, for the Proton. The Pro is, I'm not dealing with that.
And anyone that wants to make it can make it.
Yeah,
just like
good
we
luck.
do with the original Positron.
Yeah, there's no support for it because it doesn't exist. And then I think for funny means, we should try and get it on Easy Print. I think that'd be pretty cool, even though there's only 2 of them that exist.
When we're full fledged into the like the vintage retro 3D printing era, those things are going to be worth a bundle.
Yeah. Oh, I should definitely keep them up. Never mind, they're not for sale.
Yeah, hang on to them.
I mean, we kind of are though, in a way. I mean, look
For
at
the right price.
Look at Rain Motorsports.
Yeah. Those will be as valuable as like the original like dev Apple computers, you know. I mean, 25 years from now, when we're talking about vintage retro 3D printers, they'll be like,
someone did spend on auction almost $1,200 for an original V3 functional positron on auction at Sanjay Mortimer in 2024.
Wow,
nice.
So,
well, when you think about it though, like if we look back, I am one the thing. I mean, I do think that 3D printing already has like a vintage retro thing with like all of the
maker bots.
Like I mean, I think back of like my Mendels that were all threaded rods and garbage, and then you know the printer bots and all the laser cut wood printer kits that I put together that were crazy amounts of money. And now that I look back at it, it was insane that you would ever spend $1,200 or $2,000 on a printer that was 80% laser cut plywood. You know, like
DJ Midnight Wolf, do it and make sure you ask for stickers.
Speed Pony,
Sped Pony, get it right, boy.
but no, it's like I was having this conversation with somebody actually today in the Prusa Discord, and they were asking like why is the hot end on the Prusa printer not capable of going to 350? And the answer was simple. When the extruder was developed and released, nobody was printing at 350. Everyone was maxing out at 300 because that just was the limit. That's just what everyone was doing. Because up until that point, everyone had PTFE tubes in their hot ends, which meant you couldn't go past 290.
Yeah.
So,
well, plus 350 is kind of that no man's land of filament time where it's like, you know, you're really, if you're at 350, you're really not going to print anything else that you couldn't print at 320.
I mean, so as of a year and a half ago, my numbers could be outdated because this is from a poll that was done a little over a year and a half ago. 80 to 90% of people who own 3D printers still, to this day, only print PLA.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think like the PCTG and PETG are starting to come, you know, out. You know, I'm a big proponent, big pusher of PETG and PCTG. I use almost exclusively PETG over PLA. I think now in 2026, most PETGs, like the new filament from Polymaker, prints as good as PLA and is just as easy to print as PLA, but you just have the added benefits of being able to leave a part in my car and it not be a piece of gum when I come out, you know?
Like, I love Prussman Orange. That stuff prints so good.
Yeah.
But that's also because we tuned the absolute crap out of that.
Yeah. And we've been talking about like 3D printing hardware, but like the filament and the material science that we've seen over the last like 5 years, it has been wild.
Like the last year has been crazy.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be what pushes everything. this industry has been advancing back to part of the original conversation. It's been advancing at a breakneck speed. We all take granted that most machines can do 350 right now because that just suddenly became a thing. It's not that it was something that we've had forever. No, this is a recent thing, and it's a recent thing because everyone's moved back to proprietary nozzles. Because everyone's moved back to systems that are not open source. This could be seen as a good or bad thing, but the whole reason that we had that limitation was because of the PTFE tube in the V6 nozzle. But now that a lot of companies have moved back to proprietary nozzles, they are removing some limitations, but also as a result, it's not really contributing to a unified platform. For example, again, going back to Prusa, the reason some people are able to make their own 500-degree hot ends right now for their Core 1s and the Core 1Ls is because it's still using the V6 style heat block, because you can still get that hardware from like E3D or somewhere else that's trustworthy, and you can just make it. You're not going to be able to do that on these more closed proprietary nozzle systems, and at least with Prusa, the only reason that you technically can do that is because it's still piggybacking off V6.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny. Like I hear a lot of people complain about that. Like, oh, my printer only goes to 320. I want it to go to 350. But really, even at 350, there's 4 filaments in reality that you need higher than 350 degrees to print, and that's PEC, PEEK, PPSCF, and some polycarbonate composites, right?
Yeah.
But even PPSCF, there are so many PPS formulations that can be printed at 320. Now it should be more like 350, but there are very few people actually printing that, and even less printing PEEK or PEC.
Yeah.
Most polycarbonates, you can print. I mean, some polycarbonates you can print at 270 now. So, I think it's very few people that actually need 350. I think they want it just because they think it's neat, but they're never going to use it.
It's like getting a sports car and never driving above the speed limit. Like, the fact of the matter is, cool, your car can go 0 to 100 in under 2 seconds, but are you ever going to go to 100 when you're living in a school zone kind of situation? And that's where we're at. Like, awesome. The hardware is really advancing to the point where, this stuff's crazy, but I'm not spending $300 on a spool of filament I'm going to use once.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of people like, oh, I want it just in case I ever want to do it. And it's like, I mean, even if you go out and you're buying a Core 1, you're not buying a Core 1 to print PEEK, right? Like nobody's buying a Core 1 to print PEEK. If you're printing PEEK for a hobby, you're insane for one, because it's $400 a spool to print what? You're going to print a PEEK Benchy or a PEEK friggin' Flexi Dragon? Like, if
you can't take advantage of the material properties.
Yeah, if you're printing PEEK, you're a company and you're buying a printer that is meant to print PEEK.
So about that pure nylon skull I printed.
Yeah, well, nylon is.
Well, it was a pure. Like it was almost pure nylon. Now I've been having too much fun with the HT90 in the office. Way too much fun.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, no. What's
my new job? PEEK is the weakest thing that we're printing out of.
Yeah. The HT90 can reach 500 degrees Celsius on the hot end and 90 degrees on the chamber.
So my high temp printer that can do 500, 140 on the bed, and 100 in the chamber.
Is that a IDEX?
No, it's just a single tool. It's just it's my printer. I built it.
Okay. Your own.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like any type, if I was gonna start a company that was printing PEEK, I'd probably buy like the IDEX, like the Vision Miner IDEX.
Yeah.
The 22 IDEX.
Of course.
For the price, it's a really good printer.
At that point, the materials people are getting to when you get to that point. Yeah, I'm not spending enough money on a spool filament where I could just buy another printer at that cost. Like, that's that. We're talking about limitations that I think are unrealistic for the consumer to have to worry about, because I'm not going to buy a Formula One car for my drive to work.
Yeah, I will. That sounds like fun.
I mean, if
It sounds like
if
fun.
I could, I probably would.
Nomad,
But
why would you make that analogy with me in here? Because you know good and well I would.
all right.
And
But
honestly,
as soon as you see the gas bill, you're
Yeah,
gonna
you
regret
gotta-
it.
a
you gotta
Formula
work
One car
especially
might
now.
be a little slow to merge on the highways in Oklahoma. If I go to Texas, I'm dead.
So all right, so we're past our time, so we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap up. But tell us.
As Burb has pointed out, I am very tired.
Yeah. So real quick, 30 seconds. Just tell us what Positron's, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing over the next 3 months.
We're hoping to be
Australia soon.
We're hoping to be at 3D Printopia this year. Nothing's set in stone yet, but that is our goal. That probably is going to be the main show that Positron's going to be at. So we'll see you there. You're probably going to see my smug, ugly mug in a lot more other places. I'll personally be at Rapid TCT this year. So if you are there, I hope to say hello. But yeah, hop into the Discords, and we're always happy to say hi.
And you guys are all like Philadelphia area-esque, right?
No.
No?
I
Okay.
am.
Okay,
But
you are.
nose goes.
Okay.
Nope.
So, well, hopefully you guys, if we all see you at 3D Printopia in
I
Philly.
will be there.
Nice.
I will-
So,
I will
I
be
think-
at Earth and potentially Murph.
nice.
We'll
I think we
see.
will all be there. We will come. We'll have a table, Unspooled table. So
Sounds good.
we'll swing by the.
You might have to see my
Positron
Positron
table.
again.
Yes, I want
Which
to. I
one?
want to see that board up close.
Yeah, definitely. You stole my purple Positron last time. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
So,
I'll be-
all right, guys. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you again. We wish you the best. Can't wait to see what you do next. And
Thank you.
if we don't see you again, we'll see you in person at 3D Printopia.
All right.
good.
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye, Nathan. Bye, safe. See you,
Bye.
Kush. See you, Nomad.
Hey, last one.
All right. See you, Nathan.
Gone.
All right. So,
All right.
that was fun. Lots of information, but
Did
I
not
actually
mention? Hold on. Did I not mention ribs and mashed potatoes?
yes. So you've
The
been an
hell
hour.
going on?
You've been an hour and 42 minutes
What's going on here?
only thinking
Right?
about mashed potatoes and ribs. So
You guys.
we are going to spend 10 seconds so Steve can find a raid target on
I
the
already
Twitch
got one.
side.
I'm ready. I'm already
Because he's ready to leave. He wants to eat.
I
ribs
found
and
a
mashed potatoes.
target 20 minutes ago. I was on it.
So thanks to everybody who joined. If you want a travel printer, go out and buy a Positron. If you want to finish one, you don't have to build it. Back the Kickstarter Muon3D, or just wait till it's purchasable, like what I would probably end up doing.
And as usual, we appreciate you guys.
We do.
I'll say this: you have festival season starting. Get your prints done. Get your maker chips done if you're doing maker chips, or if you're doing, a challenge coin or something like that. Get your prints done. I know you think you got a lot of time, but you don't. Okay.
Next thing you know, it'll be September 1st, and it'll be
seriously.
28 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we'll see you guys next week. We have a guest next week. I need to confirm. But it's somebody that we all love.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. And if you could guess it, then I don't know.
To give a hint, like a color hint?
Can't give a hint. Let's see. No, it's a. No,
you
that's
like
too
a
much.
specific color? I might give it away.
I don't know if they like a specific color. But
Everybody likes that specific color. It's like everybody likes purple. And if
I
you
don't know what they like.
don't,
I
you're a
don't know what their
monster.
color is, but they also are active in the community and they make content. I'll say
Well, if they're on that show, if they're on this show, they're active in the community.
that. Well, they're active like in our community,
Yeah.
and they've also created a much larger community. They're part of creating a much larger community as well. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's
All
the
right.
clue.
All right, guys, have a good night. And
Yeah, have a good night. We're gonna raid in the Harold Polcher.
Polcher.
I always miss it. Yeah. Appreciate you guys as usual. Everybody hang out for the raid. Say hello to Harold. I'm probably gonna stay for like 10 minutes, and then I'm going. Not even 10 minutes.
You want to eat? Then he's going to eat.
I'm dropping the kids off, and I'm going to eat.
Thanks,
so,
Matt. Al. Have a good night, guys. See ya.